Hello and welcome. On this series, we are going to create a Gatsby theme. And we're going to be using the Gatsby Starter Blog as a starting point. And from there, I'm going to build out a theme. Um, and we'll kind of break it down, and we'll see what each aspect of a theme is, or what the Gatsby theme does. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do, but I'm just going to make a Gatsby theme video, and I'm going to talk about it, and I think it's going to be good. Um, yeah, we'll see where this goes. I like using a Gatsby starter theme. Um, I haven't made my own yet, but I do plan on doing it eventually. But I'm just going to use this Gatsby starter blog as a theme from the starting point, and I'm going to use it to build out my new portfolio. I'm going to use this on my live site. So I figured I might as well make a video and show you how it's done, I guess, and see if it can help at all, then awesome. That's the only reason why I'm doing these videos, just for helping. So with further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I am using VS Code. I have my VS Code. I got my browser in the back. Got me in the corner. So I'm going to do Gatsby starter blog. That's what we will be using. So I just type that in. Then you can go to gatsbyjs.org, and there it is at the top. I'm going to select that, and if you scroll down to the bottom, well, actually, let's visit the demo. You can see this is it. This is the blog, pretty basic. And yeah, I think that's a good starting point, in my opinion. Creating your own theme or starting from scratch is kind of difficult because there's a lot of plugins you have to add. And using a starter theme like this, they've already done it, and they know. And you can also go off of what they did to help you moving forward. So they already, on this Kyle Matthews, he already implemented SEO, the SEO plugin. So I don't have to do that, but I can. He already added a page. He connected the page to, in this case, what is it? A markdown file. And instead of me having to worry about that personally, he already did it, and I can kind of copy it basically, but also put my own twist on it as moving forward. So where were we? Go back here. So if you scroll down, you will see this little snippet of code, and this is what a starter theme is basically. So the Gatsby means you're using Gatsby, and you're going to make a new folder called this, and it's getting it from this GitHub location. So you can just copy that, go to your text editor, or your terminal, either one, and you just copy that in, and you press enter. And this might take a second to build. As you can see on the left, it's adding folders. This is everything that is required of the Gatsby starter. So I'm going to let this build, and I'm going to drink my coffee. It's decaf. It's decaf. It's in the afternoon. If you don't know, Gatsby is a static site generator. And what is a static site generator? Static, that means we're using React, and we're going to build web pages, dynamic web pages, using GraphQL. So we'll be using data, raw data basically, and then when you build the site, it creates all this JavaScript, all the styling HTML, and it puts it into a static page. And there's no database, there's no data. It's all static, and that means your site can load extremely fast, and it can move between pages extremely fast, just as if you were to use a HTML page. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest benefit, is that SEO is going to be very high because the site speed is going to be second to none, basically, throughout your entire site. Is this done? Okay. I think this is done. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're going to be building, and I will bring it up. So I'm using Figma to kind of do a layout of my design. So this is going to be my design, and you can use your own image. You can change this however you like, and I expect you to do that. I want you to do that. You should change it, or change your site specifically to you or to your needs. So this is my desktop version, and this is my mobile version. This is just the home page. At this point, this is all I have. Don't really have that much about me, but so as you can see, you got the header here, or the name of the site. This changed. This should not be like that. It should be stacked. But in the mobile version, it's going to change. So it's inline. And then, as you can see, so just briefly looking at this, you can see that this is the nav on the left. Profile image, a little bio, and then these are going to be, it's going to be a carousel, basically, and you click and you go through my work. And you click and you go through my YouTube videos. And I can add another one. It could be blog posts. Click through and you can, they're all right there. But you can see here, this nav on the left side is going to split up into two for mobile view. So that in itself, basically, this is going to be, this is the footer here, but you can't see that it's two separate footers, or two separate entities, because it's the same background. And then, yeah, you got your social media. Yeah, pretty straightforward. But this is what I'm going to be building, and you can follow along. So I built this in Figma. If you know Figma, or if you don't know Figma, I would definitely check it out, because I'm by no means a graphic designer, but I was able to do this, and it really helps your vision come to life, and it even spits out code on the right side, so you can just copy and paste that if you'd like. All right, let's get that out of there. On this part of the video, or the tutorial, if you will, I'm going to walk through the Gatsby Starter Blog, and I'm going to break down what each piece does, or what each part of the unwrapping of the Starter Blog theme, and we're going to discuss it and see if we need it and see how we can change it. Sorry, needed more coffee. Decaf. Okay, so you download this theme, and you have all this content on the left side of your screen. And so you have content. Start here. So content is going to be your assets, meaning your images, right? So these images come with it. This is like a profile pic. You can add your own, just name it the same thing, and files should translate. On a note though, it will be cached. So Gatsby, to increase speed, they cache certain parts of it when it builds, and you'll have to clear your cache. I had that problem. You clear your cache, and then on the next rebuild, it just creates a new cache. So it's not like you're deleting files you'll never get back. but so they do that. So you got your assets. That's where you'll put your images. They probably anywhere, or you put your assets in there that you'll use across the site. And then you go down to blog. So this is a starter blog. Each one of these is a blog post. So hello world, it has the index.md, which is a markdown file. And this is, if you've ever used Trello, that's written in markdown, or yeah, it can be written in markdown. It's very easy to use. I definitely recommend learning it if you have the time, because once you pick it up, it's extremely useful and extremely easy. So this is basically, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Actually, sorry about that. I forgot to, let's start it, I guess. I forgot to. So in order to start that, how do you know what to type into the terminal? So if you go down to Gatsby Config, no, I'm sorry, package.json. You go down here, and then you go to the scripts object, and you'll see that what we want to do is develop, because we're going to be developing it. So basically that means every time we click save, it'll rebuild it. And you want to use build for when you're done and you want to deploy it to your server. So build takes a little longer, but it wraps everything nicely, and you have like a folder, and you just drag and drop into your public folder basically, and it should work ideally. So what we're going to do, you can do Gatsby develop, or you can run start. So you can do npm start, which will do npm run develop, either one. So I'm going to do npm start. Maybe I have to do npm run start. Okay, that's what interesting. It should work. npm start. Oh, you have to make sure you're in the folder. So in this case, I want to do Gatsby. No. There we go. There we go. Okay, now we're in here. So now if I do npm start, okay. Sorry. No, not good. I have ZSH. I'm still getting used to it. There we go. I think I'm in. Finally. That took way too long. Okay, so that's web development right there. That's Web 101. Now we're in the folder. So basically, this folder is within another folder. You have to be in this folder in order to run that script. Makes sense. Okay, npm start. We'll do that. All right, now it's building. It's doing its thing, and it's calling Gatsby develop. That's what it's doing. See things happening here. All right, so in progress, it's building. Bam. This is what we downloaded. So this is on the local host, so on your local computer. And every time you click save, if I can hide this, you click save on anything. Let's go up to index, and if I do that, and I click save, see, if you see on the bottom here, it rebuilt. So every time you make an edit, it will rebuild. So new beginnings, I'm going to change that to, well, do hello world. Hello worlds, because there's more than one. And see, instantly changed. Not instantly, it had to rebuild. So as you can imagine, the larger your site is, the longer it's going to take to rebuild. And that is the downside, if there is one, of static site generated websites. If you have 10,000 pages and you make a change and you have to re-upload it, upload it to your production, that means it's going to take, it could take 10 minutes to rebuild, to build. I don't know, but that's very large. But that is the one downside. Okay, so where were we? We're going through these. So this is the blog starter, and this is where he has kept his blog posts. Now, this is dependent. This is basically subjective. Anyone can put them in different locations. He just decided to keep them in a blog folder, and then within each blog folder, he's making each post its own folder. Now, he could have just made this a hello world.md, and he could have reorganized the code, so it would have generated perfectly fine without this. But this is nice because you can keep all your images within one folder. So each post, I'm assuming that this will have an egg post in it, and it does. So if you go here, back, no image, see? For a markdown file, so this is like an H2 because it has two hashtags. If you see here, new beginnings, there, or remove that, it should get bigger. Yep, see. So that's, yeah, this markdown is very easy. It's very nice to know. Definitely recommend learning that. If you're in web, you'll be able to pick it up fairly quickly. So this is the blog. These are the blog posts. He has it displaying. It's being displayed rather. It's being displayed on the home page, and which is not what I want to do. So if you look at my rendering again, I don't want that. I probably will use something similar on my blog section. I haven't created the design yet, but it's probably going to be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to focus on the navigation, this like black part, and also on the mobile version of the black part. So don't worry about this. This is like part 2. I'll worry about that later. But let's continue going through. So you have your content, modules. This is everything that comes with Gatsby. Don't worry about that. Public. So this is your data when you build your site. By build, I mean do a Gatsby build, and it bundles everything together, and it compacts it and compresses it, and you have it all in this public folder. And then that folder you would add to your server, and then it would host, basically. But if you were to try to change any of this information, it might look like nonsense. It might gibberish. Trying to find a page. So this is a folder, and it's just a long string of numbers and characters. But really, it's just an image, and it's a different size image because it's trying to it's trying to find the best image, so it works. How do I say this? It's trying to optimize whatever image you have based on the size of the browser that loads. Yeah. So that you'll never be touched because it's re-rendered on build each time. We're going to be spending most of our time in the source folder. So if you know React, you know about components. So we're in the source folder, there's components, and on this theme, we have a bio, a layout, and SEO. Now SEO is great, as we know. It's one of the benefits of using Gatsby, site speed. So we want to make sure we have the metadata, and we want to use the GraphQL and all of this information. That's see, a lot of this stuff is I don't want to mess around with, and that's one of the pros, I think, of creating or adjusting an existing Gatsby theme like this one. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, so these are the components. Basically, a component is a part of a page. Yeah, so if I go down to pages, so for me, I would think a page, this is a page, and this is the index page. So if you go to index, and you can see this is importing information. This is, you have to import, it's importing React, it's importing link in GraphQL from Gatsby, but it's also importing these components and also the typography plugin, I guess. This is for fonts. We'll get there. It's in the static. No, it's not. It is at the utils. So we're the index page. Yeah, so I'm importing components from the bio, or I'm importing the bio component from the components. And now this is this is subjective, so we have all of our components in one folder right here. And you could split this up, and probably once you get too many components, you might want to do that. So it might be homepage, and then within the homepage folder, it's just components. And if it's I don't know, about page, and then you have all your components there. Assuming that they're significantly different, that you can't break and share them up. But because we're just building a portfolio basically. So I'm going to keep everything within the components page or components folder for simplicity reasons. And then the pages, it'll just be index page, about page, projects page, and that's really all you need. And okay, so we're at the index. So yeah, as you can see, we're importing bio. We're naming that bio. That can be named anything, but we're importing it from here, and that file location from there. And so if you do a find of bio, and this is what it looks like if you're importing a component. So we're also importing layout, which is also up here. Sorry about the background noise. So basically, this is the layout component, and so say that's the outline, if you will, and then the first thing inside of that outline is the SEO. So it's at the top of that layout component. and then you have the bio. As you can see here, it just says bio. You would think there's nothing coming in here, but if you go into the bio component, you'll see that all of this information is being exported as bio. And so all of this, whatever is being returned into this little component string, I guess. And so whatever's being rendered in here, so in this case, the bio on the page, this is a bio. These are the pages, and possibly this. So you go back, you're in bio. Okay, so there's image, which is that, his profile pic. And then we have a paragraph tag. Paragraph tag. Okay? So all of that, and then and then some styling. So basically this div, if we were to do a inspect, this is the div that is coming from the bio.js. And then, yeah, that is it. And that's one component. So as you can see, a component can be pretty small. It can be broken down very easily, and that's what you want, in my opinion, out of a component. So you want you can easily remove this by removing the component, and nothing else really gets distorted significantly. So that's talking about components. Hopefully that helps with that. And that's, if you're familiar with React, then that should make perfectly good sense. Down to index. So, okay, so that's a component, a bio, and then you'll see this other string of code. And what this is doing is, this has to do with GraphQL. I guess we'll talk about GraphQL. So GraphQL, I don't want to mess this up here. GraphQL is like JSON. It's basically just data, but it's different. It's built, Gatsby was made to utilize GraphQL. So it's a query language for APIs and a runtime for fulfilling those queries with your existing data. So and also, I'm reading this from their homepage, GraphQL provides a complete and understandable description of the data in your API. And it gives clients the power to ask for exactly what they need and nothing more. It makes it easy to evolve APIs over time and enables powerful developer tools. So with JSON, you have all of the data, right? And you bring it over, and you have to sort through it. You have to loop over objects to get one little piece of information that you need. GraphQL, like they stated, you can bring over only what you need. And that is what makes GraphQL, I think, I don't want to say better, but so good, especially for creating static sites. So if we go to index, let's just go to the index.js, the homepage. You will see, so as you can see, we're importing GraphQL from Gatsby, right? Link is for links within a website. So what? Well, I'll get to that in a second. So let's stick with GraphQL. So for GraphQL, we have to import it, and let's see here. This is data.site.metadata.title. That is coming from GraphQL. And how do I want to explain this? If we go down to Gatsby.config, go down here, and you'll see that there's this site metadata object, right? And then within that object, we have other keys, keys and key values. So we get title, author, description, blah, blah, blah. And so if you go back, we were looking at site metadata.title. So Gatsby Starter Blog is the title. And that site title makes sense. So it's just a variable at this point. And going to layout. It says the title is site title. So if we were to change, go back to config, Gatsby Starter Blog, I type in video and save, it rebuilds, you go here, and it automatically updates the title. So before we get deep into GraphQL, or because we have to go through multiple parts, that is something that GraphQL is great for, and Gatsby as well. So instead of just having the name within the title here, I can keep all of the data, all the information in like one file, and I can just update that one file, and it'll update it across the entire site. And that's what makes it a lot better than just a plain static website. Say you want to change a name of a post, and all you have, and you've referenced this post on a dozen different pages, and you want to change it, you have to go to each page and change it individually, and that can lead to errors. But with Gatsby, you have that title in, say, one spot. In this case, say it's on the Gatsby config file, and you just want to change the author. And I change it here, and it changes across the website. And that is also one of the best things about Gatsby. There are many good things, many. And so if we go back here, and so this is dynamically being created from GraphQL, the title. So this is GraphQL at the bottom. So let's now look at the GraphQL data and where this is coming from. So each Gatsby website, you take this, actually, and you do a slash __ GraphQL, press enter, and you get this. Every Gatsby website has this. See if you can see that. And this is all of the information that you have. And so these will change based on how many plugins you have, or what plugins you have, rather. So if you go back here to the index, what we are doing is we're querying the site metadata, and title. That's what we want to get. So if you go to click site, this is like a UI or a GUI, I think, right? You're just interacting with it. site, and you go to, I was clicking on the wrong site metadata. So if you go down to the bottom, you can check these and click play, and it'll give you the information. And so this is GraphQL, basically. And see this this code right here. This is an object or a linked list, and you can add this to any page within Gatsby, and it will render this information. And this information is being it's being stored in certain pages. So in this case, if you go to Gatsby Config, this is exporting. All this information is being sent to GraphQL, the API. And so the site metadata, all this metadata is right in here. So if I do the social, as you can see, side by side, title, author, description, site URL, social, and then you have Twitter. And you can see they're all right here. Click play, and you can get that information. So what makes this great is that if you go back to the index page, you can just query them right here. So in title, I can do author, add it there, and now I can display this name or the title. I can display this anywhere on this page, and I don't have to worry about looking for, oh, where did I write my name, or so I can update it. It could be a year, it could be a navigation, it could be anything, because all I have to do is look in one file to know, and I can just update it cross-platform, across website. So my Twitter, I'm going to do Shimmy Christo. Title, I'm going to do my name. And my website. And so I just changed that. Now if I do play again, or execute, these should change. And they do. And that is the power of GraphQL. It's remarkable. It's built to go hand in hand with React and Gatsby. So actually, I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact, but I would like to think so. I would like to think they were built to go together, like PB&J. Okay. I love peanut butter and jelly. So let's continue walking through this before we start building. So we have pages. We went through those. These are the pages. 404 comes standard. The template. So I'm not quite sure what this is, but I imagine that it is the template for a blog post, because it says blog post templates. And as you can see, this has GraphQL. It's querying data, and it's displaying it, and it's also, I'm sure, getting the blog post data from blog. So if I were to look through here, what would I see? So I'm assuming, if I go through here, so we have article, and article, post. It's getting a post from markdown file or markdown remark. Okay, so let's see if I can query this here. Or try to copy that. So this also brings up a good point for GraphQL, or another powerful aspect of GraphQL. So GraphQL can also get every type of file within your Gatsby theme. So if you noticed, all the blog posts are in .md, which is Markdown. And so using GraphQL, you can get every Markdown file, and then you can filter through them. And in this case, you can go through each file and post them, basically. And you don't have to individually create a link for each file or for each blog post. Let's see if I can explain this a little better. So I'm going to try to create this. So if I go to fields, what was it? And I was trying to type in the hello world EQ. So if you go down a little bit further, you go to fields, and then you can find the slug there. And that's what you want to type in. So in this case, my slug is my second post. So this should work. And there's the ID. So that's the ID for that post, that blog post. And so once you have that, you can choose it. The ID. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't want that. We want to display the HTML. So you click HTML. And this is the paragraph. This is everything that was within the Markdown file. So, new beginnings. This is the information that is the HTML. I'm sorry, not new beginnings, my second post. So yeah, so it's pretty short post, and that's why there's not a lot of information right there. But with that, you can show the date, you can show the description, the title. All of this information is being generated on the blog post. This is the blog post template. So each blog article will display this information. And that's why this variable here, slug, that's what the $ shows, that it's going to change on each blog post. So you set it once and it can be applied to each post. So keep going down. So that's the template. That's the template for blog post. We will get back to that at a later date when I attempt to create a blog. But right now, again, still working on that homepage. Let's take a look at it. So this is what we are creating. But right now we are just walking through the Gatsby starter file. So we went through templates, now utils. So this is a utility. This does not need to be here. This is it's like it's not an extension, it's a plugin, if you will. Yeah, it's a plugin. So this is for the typography of all the, or for the website. So it's under one folder, and there are multiple ways to do this. You could just create a global CSS and say you want Roboto as your theme or your font family, and you can put it in there and leave it at that. In this case, this starter theme has this built in, so I'm going to use this, and I'm not going to use the WordPress. I'm going to add in my own and a little bit. Go. And then, so now, okay, and now if we get back down, if we get down to the Prettier, if you know of Prettier, if you've seen my previous videos, I briefly discuss what Prettier is and what it does. You should definitely check that out if you do not know what Prettier is. And so now we get down to the Gatsby Config and the Gatsby Node. So the Gatsby Config, this is where all of our plugins will be held. And when you add a plugin and you think it should work, but it's not working, you want to come back here and make sure it's actually in here. We can also add in more information that we can access within GraphQL. So markdown remark should be in here. Gatsby remark responsive. So if I do markdown, okay, maybe it's just remark. Okay, so it is within here, and because of that, I can access it within GraphQL. The more plugins you add in the config, they will show up in GraphQL. Not all of them, but some of them. Site metadata, we were messing with that earlier. Site metadata right here. So I can add in another part of an object or another key. So say I wanted to add, instead of site URL, let's see, say I want to add in a bio. I don't know why. Yeah, I could say, this is my bio. Comma. And then if you were to hit play, I have to refresh. Bio, there it is. It shows up now. And then you can see here, this is my bio. So GraphQL is pretty cool that way, and that is where this information can be stored and should be stored in the Gatsby config. And okay, so and then that pretty much sums that up, right? So this is just data and plugins. And if you go to Gatsby Node, actually I forgot to mention, this right here, the __ direct name, all that means is wherever that current file is or being called from. So all that does, it tells you the absolute path of the directory containing the currently executing file. So in this case, it is within the Gatsby Starter Blog folder. And I think the reason for that being that whatever you name this folder, it's like dynamic. It needs to be whatever that name is. And I think hopefully that sums that up. I don't know. Message me if that doesn't make sense, and I'll go dive deeper into that. Okay, so now we have the Gatsby Node, and this is kind of the last file of the starter theme. So the thing with Gatsby Node is that it runs once per build. So all of this info, when you do the npm run, all of these all this building is done from the Gatsby node. And if I read their website, it is run once in the process of building your site. You can use it to create pages dynamically, add nodes in GraphQL, or respond to events during the build lifecycle. So yeah, you can build pages with this. So in this case, this is building, what is this doing here? Oh, it's taking a blog post. Oh, okay. So in this case, this is dynamically taking a blog post template that we saw earlier and using it to create a page. And as you can see, so it's creating a variable called posts, and this is a GraphQL location or object, and it is getting all the edges, so each post, and so posts, and it's going through each one, and what it's doing is indexing them and individual, so it's going through each one, and then each one it is saying create page, and I believe it's probably built in. I'm not positive. Okay. So that's basically an action, is what that's doing. So it's taking this, it's creating a page, and each page it is creating a path, and the path is going to be the slug of the blog article, and it's going to build a component, or the component is the blog post. If you look back up here, that is the template, right? So it's being, the template is the component, and then it has the context. And in this case, it needs to reference the previous and the next based within the array of posts. And then, yeah, so I mean, you can do a lot with these. So imagine if you had blog posts. Imagine if you had, in my case, it's going to be portfolio pieces, or pieces I want to show on my website, or yeah, that's pretty much it. That just blog posts and portfolio pieces. And then obviously it needs to be exported. And this is saying if it is a markdown remark, then create. So on create node is what happens when the Gatsby builds the site. It is rendered, it is built on render. So this will definitely come in handy in the near future. So this is just for blog posts. Probably do something similar with portfolio pieces. Add an image in there, display parts of the content maybe, or emphasize the URL. I don't know yet. But Gatsby Node, very powerful. Just another great way where you can display multiple content, or like multiple pieces of content in one file. And I think that's what's so great about Gatsby. Okay, so that is I guess the beginning of, or just like getting started with this, or just getting started with this Gatsby Starter blog, and I'm going to end here, and the next video we're actually going to create or start to create that theme that I was talking about. This one right here, we're going to build, first we're going to build this navigation, the header and the footer, and yeah, and so, adding an image dynamically and having it render within, and then also including the link tag and the image tag for Gatsby. So hopefully this cleared something up, or it made some sense. But thanks for watching, and until next time.